Warning: electrical shock hazard. Disconnect power before servicing. Replace all parts and panels before operating. Failure to do so can result in death or electrical shock.
Excessive weight hazard. Use 2 or more people to move and install dishwasher. Failure to do so can result in back or other injury.
My name is Phil Lally. I'm the Product Service Manager for Whirlpool for the dish category, and today we're going to cover the new installation of a new model line we've got out that's going to launch in February of 2020. It's a new design dishwasher from the ground up, so there are some installation differences from what you're used to in the past. We're going to cover a KDPM 804 model today. So once you've got the literature out, you might want to review on the installment requirements tools and parts page. There's tools that you may need to install it, and some accessories such as a water supply line, an elbow fitting. If you buy a water supply line kit, it comes with the elbow fitting. Or if you're not replacing the water line, you still need to purchase a 3/4 inch to 3/8 inch elbow fitting to connect your old water supply to the dishwasher. Drain hose is supplied with the dishwasher. You also need a power cord. Now this model line has 2 new power cords as accessories. We've gone away from the old wire nuts in the terminal box to an actual terminal with screws. So the difference in the power cords on the end, on the green, the black and white, there's actually eyelets on it that you're going to put a screw through it into a terminal box rather than the old style wire nuts. So the customer or the installer will need to purchase or supply the dishwasher with the power cord. We have 2 model numbers or 2 part numbers. The only difference is the end. One has a straight plug and one has a right angle 90-degree plug. All right, one of the first things we're going to do is remove the toe panel. It's got 2 black 5/16 inch screws on the bottom. And then it's got 2 tabs at the top that it rests in. You just lift up and out. And it's a 2-piece toe panel in the front. And this panel slides up and down to adjust for any unevenness or gap that you may have in the floor when you finish installing it. It's also got a little insulation piece here that just pops out. Another thing that's new about this model line is we now have a drip pan that you're going to have to remove to hook up to utilities as well. It's got a tab on the left and right side. You just depress it, pull it out, and then there's a little orange wire harness with a RAS connector. You just push on the tab and pull the connector out. Set this aside for now. This will be reinstalled once we get it into the unit before we put the toe panel on. Now, one tip I will give you: if you forget to put that drip pan on, the dishwasher will not operate if the drip pan is disconnected. So the next thing you do is you take the electrical junction box cover off. That's a 1/4 inch or T20 screw. Once you get the screw out, you just lift up on it with a flat bladed screwdriver. Comes right off, and this is the terminal box I was talking about. In the past, our power cord or hard wire came in through here, and there was 3 wire nuts. Now we actually have a terminal box where you're going to take the screw out, put it through the eyelet, and screw it back down. So we're going to demonstrate using a power cord. If you were using a hardwire installation, you would do that further on in the installation. You'd have it taped to the floor, so you slide the dishwasher into the cutout over the hardwire, and then you hook it up at that time. But for a power cord model, you're going to do it while you've got it on its back, and you're hooking up the utilities, the water supply, the electrical, and the drain hose. You always want to make sure you use a strain relief on the power cord or the hard wire. All right, once you get the strain relief and the nut on it, You can pull the green ground screw out, put it through the green ground outlet, eyelet. Okay, we've actually got the ground one hooked up with the 1/4 inch green ground screw and the green wire. Now you're going to pull the Phillips head screw out. Then you're going to go black to black and white to white. You can put the screw through the eyelet. There's the black wire. We'll do the same for the white wire. Like I say, this is new. In the past, we've always had wire nuts. 2020, we're switching to this new terminal box. Reinstall the junction box cover. So that covers the power cord. Then you want to route it down the back and out. So the next thing we're going to hook up is the drain hose. And with the literature that came in the product, there's a miscellaneous parts bag that will have the anchors that you anchor the unit to the cabinet, 2 clamps, a silver and a red one, and 2 anchor screws. The red clamp is for the end of the drain hose that goes under the sink to your disposal, and the silver clamp goes on this 110-degree elbow end for the bottom of the dishwasher. Okay, for this model line, we've got a new drain port connection. It's on the left side rear of the unit. So you're going to take your end with the 110-degree elbow on it. You're going to use the silver clamp. And you want to hook it onto that drain port, again with the silver clamp. And then just like you did with the power cord, you're going to route it out the back underneath the rear leg, just like this. And the reason we're doing that is so when you finally set it up, you're not setting up on top of the power cord, the drain hose, or the water supply. We always recommend a new water supply line when you're ever installing a dishwasher. And there's 2 parts to a water supply line. One is if you buy the water supply line kit, it comes with the 90-degree elbow. If you do not replace the water supply line, you'll still need to purchase a elbow fitting for the water supply that will connect to your existing water supply line. So you're going to take your brass 3/8, 3/4 inch fitting. You want to start it by hand onto the fill valve, tighten it as tight as you can get it by hand. If it doesn't screw on really easily, you might be cross-threading it. You want to take it off and start over. Once you get it as tight as you can with your hand, take a pair of pliers, and all you need to give it is a 1/4 to a 1/2 turn facing back, and again route it out the rear along with your drain hose and your water supply line. Before you set it up, you want to adjust your rear legs to the proper height for the countertop. So measure from the floor to the underside. In this case, we've got 34.5. The dishwasher comes preset from the factory at 33.5. You want to adjust the rear legs out 1 inch before you slide it into the cutout, because once you get it into the cutout, you can't adjust the rear legs. Now you could do the fronts at this time, but we'd rather have you wait until you get it in there to adjust the front when you get to the portion where you're going to level it side to side and from front to rear. So at this time, once you've done the rear legs, you can set it up. So once you get it stood up and get ready to slide it in, you're going to route utilities kind of like an umbilical cord out the back, and you're going to route them through the bottom, rear, or right side depending on where the sink is. And you've got the drain hose, the water supply, and the electrical. Now the hole that's required is only 1.5 inches. And a lot of guys ask me, how do you get all this through a 1.5 inch hole? You put the plug in first, and then you do the water supply. And lastly, you do your drain hose, because you can squish it down to fit through the remainder of the hole.
Warning: electrical shock hazard. Plug into a grounded 3-prong outlet. Do not remove ground prong. Do not use an adapter. Do not use an extension cord. Failure to follow these instructions can result in death, fire, or electrical shock.
So at this time, you want to hook your water supply, your drain hose up. Now it's going to, when you plug it in without the drip pan connected, remember I showed you that orange wire, it has to be hooked to the float. Until you plug that in, it's going to beep and go crazy because it's telling you the drip pan's not plugged in. And if you got a digital display model, it will actually say F8 E4. So this is the end of the water supply. I just finished hooking up the water supply. This is the end of the drain hose that's got 2 different dimensions on the hose. The big one is usually for a garbage disposal, but if you've got a P-trap port, it's a smaller diameter, so you cut it right here so you can put it on the smaller diameter. And you can use a hose clamp, or if it's disposal, you use the red clamp. All right, so under the sink we've got the electrical power cord plugged in, the water supply hooked up, turned on, and the drain hose hooked up to the drain port.
If the disposer has not been used in conjunction with the dishwasher before, you will need to knock out the drain tube plug using a screwdriver and hammer. You can use needle nose pliers to remove the plug after knocking it through. Slide the large retaining clamp onto the drain hose and attach the hose to the disposer or the drain pipe if applicable.
Okay, in the installation that we just did the video on, I used the power cord, but at certain times you're going to see a hard wire or direct wire, which is conduit, such as this. It's basically the same hookup, black to black, white to white, and green or bare wire to ground. So make sure you get the strain relief on it, and then you just take your needle nose pliers and make a circle with the copper wire, put the terminal box screw through it in the terminal, and you're all set.